Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a very exciting episode of Me Time, our first ever Me Time Community Spirit special. We are very excited today to be joined by the wonderful John.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. It is good to have you on Me Time, John. This is new for us.
It's exciting to be the first one. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're privileged, mate. Absolutely privileged. And we just can't wait to get started. So a lot of Me Time Community Spirit, as we explained in episode 26, and there's a link up there now if you haven't watched it. What we're trying to do with Community Spirit is we'd like to delve in and just get to know a little bit more about what makes the community so important as well. We want to get a little bit more involved. And today we really wanted to just get into the nitty gritty of who John is and what he'd like to talk about with us today, and share the values of Me Time as well, because of course we have a big passion for all things film, books, TV shows. So we'll be touching on that today as well. So I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, no time like the present. We've met before, John, but a lot of our viewers that will be tuning in have not met you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do, how long you've done it for.
Okay, cool. So hello everyone. My name is John, and I live in and around the Fleet area. I know Elliott and these guys pretty much through my Krav Maga training. I'm a self-defense instructor in my spare time. So I've been doing that since 2006, I think, is when I first started doing it. Passed my my gradings and my teacher's exams in 2015. So I've been teaching since then. I teach a mixture of the little ninjas, what we call them, sort of the kiddies, through to the juniors, which are the stroppy teenagers, and then the adult classes as well, which is how I know Elliott. He's one of my students from Krav.
I had the privilege of teaching both, which is quite nice.
And we've
Stroppy teenager.
into adults. And in fact, we've just had a class this morning. We're fresh off the back of a 3-hour class, so we're very, very fresh for the microphone. So that's my spare time stuff. That's what I do. That's kind of what I'm passionate about. In my day-to-day life, I work for Sky. I used to work for the police. I was in the digital forensics team. I did that for about 10 years. And now I do digital forensics for Sky as my main source of income. Because Krav is great. It's loads of fun, but it doesn't pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best bit about being an instructor for martial arts is then, John?
I mean, that's a very varied and loaded question, actually. There's loads of... Well, it's balance. Okay, there's lots of bad things about being an instructor, which I won't really bother getting into. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. But you get highs and lows. But the good stuff is one, there's all of the people that you meet along the way. There's I've gotten to know some really, really cool guys, people who I hang out with outside of Krav Maga. We're friends socially. I guess it's the reward. It doesn't come along very often. No. You don't hear of the stories very often. But every once in a while, I've been doing it just over 10 years now as an instructor. And every once in a while, you just have a student or a story where you realize that what you do has been important to that person in some way. And that's really special. It doesn't happen every single day. And you don't get a student coming in saying, hey, I got jumped by 10 guys at the weekend and I fought them all off. I mean, that would be an amazing story, but also it kind of goes against what we teach in Krav Maga, because really you shouldn't have been getting into a fight with 10 people in the first place. Tactical, situational awareness, tactical thinking, it shouldn't have happened. But, stuff does happen in the real world. But it's not so much that kind of stuff, whereas that is a nice thing to hear about when your teachings have helped someone avoid, physical harm. But it's more just seeing people grow. I've had a few students from like junior level who've then joined the adults, who've continued with the adults, they're still coming, and just watching them go from this really shy, introverted kid who wouldn't step on the mats, who was afraid to just play a game and do a warm-up, to just like, kicking ass on the mats and being, self-confident and just, really in it.
I think our most recent example is Xiao Fei. Kind of. So I kind of benefit teaching with you in the juniors and then also him now joining the adults.
Yeah.
So sort of seeing him grow very sort of gradually is awesome.
Yeah, and he really has just, you know, there's a few students I can think of that have done that. They've just come on leaps and bounds. So it's the reward is kind of like a slow burn. Yeah. It's not like you go every day and there's instant gratification. It's just you know, you give and it gives back.
Yeah. I'd say so as well, and I'll speak a little bit about my time in teaching. I don't understand what it's like to be a martial arts instructor, but I've had my experience in teaching before, and I can very much relate to the long-term reward of it. I do understand. You see so much potential in anyone that you teach, and there's so many that everyone is completely unique and different in a way, and it's your job to give to them the skills that you deeply want to, you're deeply devoted to as well. And no one said it's going to be easy. No. And no one method ever works for one person. But there comes at one time where you get that personal level and you get to understand who they are. And whether that is through actions or words, I'd say mostly action, because I find sometimes it is very difficult for people to express themselves through words sometimes. And I'd say, from my perspective anyway, from a martial arts point of view, actions very much speaks louder than words. And you'll be able to see in the confidence through their ability to jump into something, or their inability to rather, or be a little bit more shy, hesitant rather than jumping into it. You can see that journey unfold, and most importantly, work with them on a deeper level towards something that they can accomplish, not necessarily wants to accomplish, but something that, you know, that they can do as well. And that was definitely the most rewarding part of being a teacher for me. Yeah. Sure, it's difficult, but again, seeing joy, seeing laughter, them coming in the next day saying just like, hey, I did this. And you're like, oh, awesome. That's so cool to see.
I call them light bulb moments. It's like when they get it, you know, it can be a real slog to get there sometimes as well. You know, I have a way of teaching, and it's kind of universal, but sometimes you come up against a brick wall, and you have a student who is not getting it, and it's not their fault, it's my fault. Like the way I'm teaching it, they're not understanding it, and so you try different things, and eventually, when it clicks, and when you see them do it right, and when you see that they understand it, and like this, bing, they get this light bulb going off above their head. That's rewarding. That's a good feeling.
That's always great.
Yeah. Is that what led you to pursuing this part-time career, John? The light bulb moments, or was there something else that drove you to become an instructor?
Do you know, it's a good question. I never had it in my roadmap to be a Krav Maga instructor. I'd started doing it, like I said, in 2006. Back then, it wasn't a weekly class. There was a chap called Matt who taught around the Guildford area, and he did.
Not me.
a different guy. Yeah. But he started teaching what he would call seminars. So like a full day, like it'd be a whole Saturday. You'd go along and you'd look at different aspects of Krav Maga. But then there'd be nothing for 6 weeks or so, and then you do another seminar, which was good. But I was finding that you go along, you'd learn some stuff, you'd have some fun. But then, because you're not practicing weekly, you kind of the next time you go along, you kind of forgot. Things degrade if you don't train. And he did a few, you call them semesters, like 6 week, once a week courses, and that was great. But then I was in a supermarket actually in Farnborough, and I saw. I never check the community boards. I never look at the community boards in the supermarket. But for whatever reason, I think my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, was paying for some food or something, and I just browsed at the community boards and I saw this logo, Carpe Diem, Krav Maga, and I was like, Krav Maga, I know this, I do this, and it just happened to be in the centre that was across the road from where I lived. And, and it was just starting up, just starting. Hatham was just starting his class up. I think he'd only been doing it for about 6 weeks or so before I saw the thing, and I'm like, oh wow, and it was a weekly class. It was a Monday night or whatever, and it was every week. And so I just started training. I had no aspirations to become an instructor. At the time, I was working for the police. I'd gotten into it because one of my colleagues in the police said he was doing it and it was good, which is why I started training with Matt in Guildford. And I just sort of fell in love with it. And then met Hatham, stand-up guy, started training regularly with him, really enjoyed it, got a few gradings under my belt. And he just said one day, like, you've got what it takes. Do you fancy being an instructor? And I didn't say yes straight away. I said, I'll think about it. I asked him lots of questions. We met up, we had a coffee, we talked about it. It wasn't something that I jumped into. But I've always been very good with training, like in a corporate or a professional world. I've always delivered training. I thought, well, I like teaching, I like delivering training, I like Krav Maga, and I'm currently paying to do Krav Maga, but Krav Maga could pay me. So why not? Let's give it a go. And so I went along and did what they call the CIC, which is a civilian instructor course, and that was a 3-week course, 21 days, split over 3. They call them weeks. I call them Israeli weeks. Really, they're from Saturday right through the week till the following Sunday. So it's like a 9-day week, and you're training from like 9 till 6 every day. And it's not sitting around you or you're doing Krav Maga. That's why they have a little break in between all of them. Otherwise, But yeah, I did it. I passed it. I got all my certifications, and Hatham set me up my first class. And back then, he really wanted me to do like a couple of classes a week, and I was like, "Oh, pump the brakes!" Like, once a week, I'll see how I get on, and then once a week becomes twice a week down the line, and then he's like, would you like to go and do the kids Krav Maga instructor course? And I thought about it. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then start teaching kids. And now I'm doing like 3 classes a week, which is about 2 nights, 3 classes, which is about right for a work-life balance.
Yeah, and it's jumping in there as well, that whole work-life balance aspect as well. It's firstly, I've got to say that's really cool the way that you got into the Krav Maga instructing there. The whole sentiment of like, why not? Just saw it on a community board. It's just that level of enthusiasm you had to it, and it just evolved into that motivation to give back as well, what you were so passionate about.
Just say yes, right?
Yeah, it's just it, and that in particular, work-life balance. I mean, to touch on that, a lot of people I know that have such passions, very much like yourself, I'd say a little bit myself included as well, that want to do these things, that but the only thing that's holding them back is just like, I'm busy, we'll get in the way, or it's not giving me that much money, it's not going to pay the bills, and the interesting aspect is you're just like, but if you really want to do it, you've got, just go for it. There's no harm in trying, and there is, obviously you can't do it all the time, very much like you said, 3 days a week. You got to make these things work somehow.
When your body can go for like doing it all the time.
There's that, yeah.
But the way I look at it with these sort of things, like if there's anything that you've been thinking about doing, or something that you have a passion about and you want to do more of it, there's always 1,001 reasons not to do it. You can always find multiple reasons to say more, no. Yeah. Even if that reason is just, I'm tired, I work really hard and I don't want to. Try it, and if it doesn't work, at least you tried it, right? I'd rather shoot my shot and miss than not give it a go.
It's funny, it's kind of a rare mentality you see these days, because I speak to a lot of guys, and like someone's ability to kind of go, I want to try this. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to pass or fail this. And the idea of failure just terrifies them, because it's the mentality to kind of look over the edge and kind of go, don't know where it's going to go. I'll give it a shot, see what happens. I don't know what I'm doing, but so why not?
Well, I mean, this is it. When I went on the civilian instructor course, I was aware it was, at the time, probably going to be the most intensive thing I'd ever done in my life. And it was brutal. And when you're in it, it's hell. And then almost as soon as you finish, you look back at it and, wasn't that great? And it wasn't. It was like 3 weeks of hell. Yeah. But I just thought, if I fail, what does that really mean? What does that really matter? Like, if I come at the other end of it and I didn't pass, like what's the knock-on effect of that? And really, it's nothing. I mean, I gave something a shot. I could always go back and do it again. Or I could draw a line under it from the experience, be like, do you know what? It didn't work out. I'll try something else. There's no world-ending paradoxes going to ensue if I did it and it didn't work out. So I just thought, I'll have a go. And as it happened, as much as it was awful, I do look back on it with rose-tinted glasses. It was a fun time, and
beauty of hindsight. Yeah,
the courses. There's multiple courses you can do with the International Krav Maga Federation, and they're always brutal. They're always hard work. They're always long days. But you come out of it knackered with a six-pack.
Yeah.
So
would you say? I'd say, Elliott, before we move on, is that a similar approach to how you came to Krav Maga as well, and you met John as well?
No, I came to Krav Maga for a different approach. So I was introduced to Krav Maga by George Lewis, the tank he is. Because I had issues in school, and I've touched them quite a few times on the podcast already, so I'll kind of speak vaguely around it. And George kind of introduced me, kind of, that this is possibly a good system you can actually use. And at the time, we were in the old and when I was introduced, we're in the old Hollow Centre.
I remember it well.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I was asked today, how long have you been doing it for now? And I was like, about 11 years now.
I like to remember the year rather than give the number. That way it's less scary.
When
I say I've been doing Krav Maga 20 years, I kind of die a little bit inside. It's now 2026. Like, how has it been 20 years already?
The other day, I looked back at 2000, literally a picture from 2016. I was like, oh, that's not that long ago. And someone turned to me and said, that was a decade ago.
It's scary.
Yeah.
But I think with I get a lot of students, particularly the juniors. I think their parents are aware that there's problems at school, and they're looking for solutions. And martial arts is, I think it's great for people who are having issues, not so much so that they can beat up their bullies, as much as we may fantasize about that at the time when we're in school. I think it wouldn't be great just to walk in here and Jackie Chan everyone.
Yeah.
But it's more just about confidence. All right. Bullying, the majority of bullying that I see, stuff that I've experienced myself when I was a kid, like, everyone gets a little bit every now and then. I went to an all boys school, right? And so there was 30 lads in my class, and we all gave as good as we got. Everyone bullied everyone. Yeah. Sometimes it was mild-hearted and good intent, and other times it was a bit more malicious, and most of the time it was just what you did. But the majority, from my experience, the majority of bullying is more verbal and mental, with threats of physical. You do get the physical aspect as well, but I think there's not a lot of kids getting beaten up every single day at school without something happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of finding that kids these days are they're fighting two battles at the minute. So they're fighting battles in the mind in regards to the social media stuff.
Yeah.
Because I kind of got a taste of it when I was going through school.
Yeah.
It was kind of that first evolution. Yeah. Because social media was coming in. So you got the first evolution of the verbal bullying, all sort of stuff, and the various sort of character assassinations, all sort of stuff. So you had that. Yeah. And then you'd also have the blokes who were just strong, and they would just pick on you because they saw you as a weak adversary.
And having the martial arts training, or if I get very, very technical about it now, Krav isn't a martial art. It's a fighting system. But when people ask what is Krav Maga or what do you do, you say martial arts, and it paints a picture in their mind that they can relate to and they understand. But even if it's not Krav Maga, even if it's karate, taekwondo, BJJ, something like that, it's more just about giving the kids the confidence. You know what? If anything ever did happen, and it probably won't, but if it did, you can handle yourself. You've been tested under pressure, and that can just give kids an amazing confidence boost. And suddenly those words and the threats and the stuff, they don't mean as much anymore. And if we can bring that level of internal turmoil down, then you're winning, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that. Like, if I hadn't trained Krav Maga, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Just the idea that over the time of practicing it and kind of establishing the confidence and various other things, I probably wouldn't have the mental capacity to come here and speak. And
Right.
So
Gotcha.
you know, having conversations to kind of go, oh, I'm going to try and do this. It's kind of, I wouldn't, if I hadn't done Krav, I wouldn't probably be doing this. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think this is the thing I was thinking about the other day, like actions ripple. And you don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll never know, but sometimes something that you did can ripple in a good way or a bad way. You know, like you say, like you do Krav Maga, now you do a podcast. And here we are. Had you never done that, this would never happen. I love like sliding door type situations like that. You know, chaos theory. A butterfly flaps its wings somewhere, and there's a thunderstorm
butterfly effect
elsewhere. You know, it's fascinating. But yeah, it's just about giving kids confidence to not to get into a fight, to avoid a fight, but know that if it does happen, you know what, actually I've trained under stress, I've trained under duress.
True enough.
There's a really interesting thing that I've been running around in my head for a while, where like, you know, where does self-defense start? And in my opinion, it doesn't actually start in the fight. It actually starts as soon as you walk outside your door. In regards to your observation, and sort of I say observations, you're not so much paranoid, because I was guilty of that. You walk outside your door and you walk down the street, and if you see that there's a group that seems slightly dodgy, then you kind of navigate away and choose different pathways.
Absolutely, yeah. No, self-defense is a mindset as well as anything else. It's avoiding a fight. I mean, people look at me, and I guess I form a bit of a stereotype, and quite by accident. You know, I'm 6'2", I'm skinhead. I do Krav Maga, but I can't help the height that I grew to. That's just genetics. I am naturally balding. I can't do anything about that. I choose to shave my head because it looks rubbish when I try and grow hair. And I do Krav Maga. And I think a lot of people, particularly the guys at work, when I first met them at Sky, like I said, that, you know, I'm a Krav Maga instructor, and I explained what it was and what I do, and they kind of side eye you and look at you a bit funny. But I explained to them, I'm a pacifist. Like I don't like violence. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll enjoy an MMA fight, or if there's a big boxing match on where two people are getting in a ring and they know what's what and they're trained. I'm all for it. Let's watch a bit of that. But the thought of an innocent person who doesn't want to be hurt being subjected to that doesn't sit well with me.
No.
So as much as I am at heart a pacifist, I'm not just going to sit back and do nothing.
Completely.
It's an interesting thing again, where like, when you're kind of seen as sort of a fighter, like I've been to at work as well, kind of going, oh, what would you do in this situation, this very situation, or I want to challenge you here, and it's like, I don't want to be like, as much as I'm training it, I don't particularly want to be challenged. Only because I know, one, a long-term effect. I mean, during my time when we're doing stress tests, because of my history and PTSD, like I'd spike out, and you pulled me aside and Kev pulled me aside, and again, you okay, dude? Like, not really. I kind of found it kind of had it had more better implications for me, because I kind of relive what I'd already gone through, and then kind of mend it in my own mind of what I could have done. It's kind of weird.
It's a tried and tested technique. So we have stress tests and we have absorption drills, and we don't do absorption drills too much in Krav Maga. I touch upon them particularly with the higher graded students from time to time. But and look, it's
stand here and take a few blows.
The idea is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, to understand that pain is just a feeling and it sucks, but it shouldn't result in you adopting the fetal position and doing nothing. So the absorption drills will be standing in a fighting stance, and you'll have a partner or two, and they'll basically just circle you, and they'll kick and they'll punch you. All right, not to knock you out, not to break your bones or anything. You know, it's measured. It's not like they're just throwing and kicking as hard as they can, but it is to get you comfortable, or at least to give you experience of what it is like to be hit. Because you can be the best fighter in the world, the best self-defense practitioner in the world, but if you've got a glass jaw, or someone just taps you and you go full fetal position, you're not going to be able to deal with anything. And it builds resilience. And the stress tests, you know, they build resilience. They're designed at the end of every class, for those who don't know, we'll spend a class learning certain techniques. And then at the end of the class, we basically do a drill where we test the techniques that we've learned to see if we have really learned them, and we'll add an element of stress. So it'll maybe be you stand there with your eyes closed, and someone gives you a tap, and when you open your eyes, they'll do an attack that you've learned how to defend against that evening. And either you do the technique or you do something else, but you do something. The idea is to react and to do something, and it gives you the benefit of being okay under stress.
Yeah.
All right. So you got absorption drills and stress tests, and I think these things are great for building mental resilience, just generally in life. Because if you can stand there while a bunch of people kick and punch you, you know what, you can handle a meeting where things are getting a little bit tetchy, or you can handle a moment where maybe like you get a little flare up from PTSD or something like that. It's not the worst thing in the world. I've been through worse. I can handle this.
Yeah.
You know, it builds resilience.
I'd say that's a very important lesson to teach. The mental resilience part, but the more or less the stress, because that is quite prevalent in the world today. Stress is the proper evil of man and woman at the moment. It is an all-consuming concept that many people just give into, and it affects lives, it affects careers, it affects futures, but only if you let it. You know, it is, like you very much say, it's a knock-on effect, but truly, what is it affecting in this moment right now where you are feeling stressed, overwhelmed, emotional, or becoming triggered by something in your past? It's you within your own mind, and that is the idea of just getting over that and looking after yourself and being that, learning how to be that arm that goes right around your shoulder and just goes, it's all right, you're all right to feel this way. It's totally fine. You'll get through this. And it's very fascinating to hear that from the perspective of Krav Maga and the stress test as well, because of course, I'd like to be able to relate that I'm a pacifist as well. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before. In one of our episodes where I speak very much against anything to do with combat or violence as well. But it's very interesting that you said that you enjoy the MMA fights and you enjoy watching it. Because of course, I mean, we have spoken about so many TV shows, movies, and books as well, where violence is the core thing. It's just like, get over this and fight the opponent and beat the bad guy. And I love that sort of stuff. But when I'm faced with danger, when I'm faced with the threat of someone showing ill intent, or I'm going to hurt you, or I'm going to berate you, it just makes me feel terrible. But I've learned to use my words to prevent such actions rather than actions to prevent such actions. But what I've learned from Elliott and yourself, John, is that Krav Maga isn't necessarily jump in being a superhero saying just like, I am here, I'm going to defeat everything. It's, I'm going to do this in a very quick fashion to prevent the fight from even happening in the first place. It's not flashy fun. It is, I'm going to prevent this from happening.
Well, so here's the thing about Krav Maga is that it's based on like real world scenarios. I've done other martial arts in the past as well, and I'm not bashing any martial arts. They all have their own pros and cons. I've done taekwondo and judo and stuff like that in the past, and they have taekwondo has a dueling, a sparring aspect to it, and it's all very controlled. As it should be. It's a competition at the end of the day. You're scoring points and whatnot. Whereas in Krav, we do a little bit of sparring here and there, mainly just to get used to being in a fight. But there's no rules. Like, I can kick you in the groin, I can gouge your eyes and stuff like that. And that's difficult to train in class without injury. So
fair enough.
We have to have a lot of safety.
It's good.
But we are training for the real world. And here's the thing about the real world: I don't want to get into a fight in the real world. Right? There's judo mats on the floor in our training hall. My opponent is wearing boxing gloves and shin protection. I've got a groin guard on and a gum shield. If I get into a fight in the real world, which I have done through my policing side of things, you're rolling around in concrete and there's broken glass and dog stuff on the floor, and
Yeah.
it's an awful, painful place to be. That's the
Very
last
much
thing.
so. Yeah.
It's the last thing I want to do. So yeah, tactical verbal communication, like de-escalation. It's all about not getting into a fight, but sometimes the fight finds you regardless.
Oh, it does.
And in that case, you want to have something. It doesn't have to be Krav Maga, but you want to have something in your back pocket that you know inside out very well to stop it before it becomes a problem. I don't want to have a John Wick 15-minute fight scene through a building with a guy who's being a bit of an arse. I just want to stop it in 3 strikes and run away. You know, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode of Me Time. If you haven't already, subscribing would really help out get more Me Time to you. Anyway, back to the episode. Of course, you've got your big bravado, flashy superhero movies where you want to see them show off their powers. You want to see that fictitious element of someone doing what is not humanly possible.
Of course.
That is so fun to see. However, speaking on John Wick, the real aspect of it, of how he isn't going to walk in like Clark Kent and beat everyone up without a single bruise on his face. He throws this person to the ground, locks them, does what he needs to, breaks their arm or makes them immobile or unconscious within a couple of seconds and moves on. But he gets battered in the process.
It's funny.
It's a real thing.
We were just having this conversation in a down moment during the class earlier on today with Max and Adrian, because we were talking about action movies briefly. And we were saying that John Wick is both simultaneously realistic and completely unrealistic in the same breath. Because you've got, if you look at action movies of old, and I love them, by the way, I like the movies of the 80s and 90s, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone and whatnot. Like these guys walk into like an army base with thousands of soldiers, single-handed, with nothing but a knife and a grenade. And they come out and they are unscathed. They're just covered in mud and grease and whatnot, but they don't have a scratch on them.
Just another day at the office.
Exactly,
Or something like that.
with the cheesy one-liners. And it's brilliant. It's popcorn entertainment. It's fantastic.
Isn't it?
Everything marked explosive must blow up. It's brilliant.
Oh, it's so silly. I love it.
But then you got the likes of John Wick, and it is out there crazy, right? I mean, in the real world, John Wick could have been dead within, maybe an hour or two. But
buildings, honestly,
he does get beaten up, and he does get badly injured. And by the end of the first movie, spoilers by the way, he's sat on his bum and he's bleeding out, and he's not in a very good way. And I like that. There's more of an element of realism to it, even though it is bonkers crazy.
Yeah, that's why it's my favourite movie of the bunch.
It's that really kind of good representation of like, as much as you might be a good fighter and stuff, no one really wins in the fight to a degree.
No.
Like, you're going to get beaten up more and you're going to have to take it.
And I think the likes of like the Jason Bourne movies kind of paved the way for that kind of new era of action, where the action heroes are very, very good at what they do, but it's I want to say grounded. It's not. It's a little bit more grounded in reality. Like, you watch Bourne, he's very good, but again, he doesn't take as much damage as he should. He does get shot every once in a while or stabbed or whatnot, but it's usually just a bit of gaffer tape, and then he's, there's no secondary infections or anything with him. He's just taped himself up and he gets on with it. But love like the new wave of action movies. I enjoy the violence in them because it's not real. It's a suspension of disbelief. It's a movie completely. No one's actually getting hurt, and you can root for the good guys and you can jeer on the bad guys, and it's okay if the bad guy gets a nasty comeuppance because it's not real. But I don't want to see that out on the street. I don't want to see an innocent person being subjected to that. I don't want to be subjected to that. No. So a pacifist who enjoys violence. Caveat.
Right. Isn't it? It's so weird when I go into my explanations about it, particularly with obviously the D&D stuff I'm doing as well. And some people turn around and just go like, Matt, that explanation of someone taking that person down or what you do. Just like Elliott sometimes is rendered speech is just like, Matt, that was grotesque. And that was too far.
So whoa.
You're just like, where did that come from? The least violent person in the room just goes like, so you behead this man, But it's so interesting that you're jumping into that because it is the suspension of disbelief. It is. It's the fiction.
You guys, assume you have. You seen the new Reacher series?
I haven't.
Alan
no,
Richardson?
but I'm familiar.
Yes.
So Alan Richardson, who used to be Aquaman in Smallville back in the day.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I know
He
Smallville.
got big, like really, really big.
He's massive.
But he's quite a devout Christian.
Yes.
And I think he has a little podcast that he talks about stuff on.
Yeah.
But he got a lot of flack from some people in the Christian community. It's like, you're supposed to follow the word of God and all that stuff, but then you're on screen doing this.
Yeah.
And he sort of addressed that in his podcast. He's like, look, no, I don't agree with anything that's portrayed on screen, but you have to understand that's a story.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And it's not real. And if we didn't explore all aspects of humanity, then art would be bland and boring. Because I'm playing a character, and of course, Richard is a very sort of amoral individual. I mean, he has a moral compass.
Yeah.
But the way he goes about making things right,
Yeah.
he may not necessarily do it the right way or
From
the morally
what I
correct
understand,
way.
yeah.
And he said in his podcast that in itself is interesting, and like that's part of why I wanted to portray the character, because it ignites conversation. So if you've got a guy as devout and as kind and as loving as he appears to be, playing someone like Reacher, then absolutely you can separate art from the real world.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, funny enough, I've been going through a Christian conversion as of recently, and kind of having those struggles in regards to anger and all that sort of stuff. Funny enough, my first praying was my second go at the fourth grading.
Right.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
hilarious. But,
Okay.
it's interesting having kind of explored the theology even more. I think there's this theory in called just war theory. Like, can you justify it? And if you can justify it within those rule sets, then you're kind of okay. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because I used to I very much was guilty of just full on rage. I mean, there's pictures of me on the Facebook group in Carpe Diem where literally there's the big old emoji of like the angry face. This is me over. This is during the Invictus times, and you can kind of you switch on your second personality is the best way I can describe it. And that personality was like full on. Just I want to beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
I think what I found interesting going to P4, well, actually coming out of my first P4 where I'd failed, is the direction of where the anger's going. Because when I failed P4, my anger is very much all over the place still.
Yeah.
I think going into P4 round 2, it had more direction. It was more focused in regards to this is the job I need to carry out. This is where the energy going.
Yeah.
And after that, I can switch it off.
Yeah.
But that hasn't come overnight. That's come over like years, like trying to kind of work my mind out to then be able to be more efficient when it comes to if I need to get into that scenario again.
Yeah.
So Elliott, it's talking about, he mentioned Invictus. For those who, I don't know if you mentioned it before on the podcast, but it's we haven't done it in a long time, but I ran there's a few people asking for it. I ran a secondary class. I think this was back in the days where I was only taking one class a week, so I had more slack in my calendar.
Yeah.
But I ran a secondary class in Guildford. It was on a Tuesday night. And it was when the club had been established for quite a while. And we had some students who had risen through the ranks or would just prove themselves to be very capable. Put on this we called it Invictus. And it was basically like a high-end Krav Maga class because the stuff that I teach every week has to be accessible for everyone. And if I did the stuff that we did in Invictus in the regular classes, we wouldn't have a class.
No, it's
it was more aggression-based, higher end techniques. You have this thing, I call it the switch. And every person out there, I like to think, is more or less a good person.
I agree.
I have had exposure to people who are rotten to the core through 14 years in the police service, but I think inherently most people are good people.
I agree.
And a lot of the people who come to Krav Maga are, that's a smaller section of the population, are good people who want to learn how to defend themselves. It's very rare that I've had a guy show up who's an absolute thug who wants to know how to beat people up more efficiently. Usually those guys already know how to fight and they don't really want to come and do weekly classes. But I try to find this switch in people, and it's a difficult thing to find, and you have to be careful. It's a difficult thing sometimes to switch off. But the idea is that if you are being attacked by a person, you as a good person don't want to hurt people.
No.
Yeah.
And it can be I've experienced this in my younger years when I've been in conflict situations. Like, you know what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
But you're inhibited because, I'm a good person and I don't want to hurt this guy. Even though he's hurting me. Yeah. I don't want to hurt him back. And again, I think that's probably a byproduct of a Catholic upbringing, but I try to give people permission just for a minute to do what they need to do. And it's hard to find it in people.
Yeah.
Some people, it's really hard to find it in them, but everyone has a little psychopath in there somewhere through years and years of growing up and being raised correctly. He's very, very walled off and jailed in, and thankfully doesn't come to the surface. But if you are being attacked, then you need to just be able to flick that switch and open the door for a second. Lets that person out to do what they need to do, and then you very quickly put him back in his cell and he doesn't come out again.
So during my Invictus days, I was guilty of kind of letting the psychopath out completely and more than switching off.
The switching off is just as important as switching it on.
Because once you enter into that sort of mindset of you're my target, I want to take you out, there's no real empathy going on behind closed doors. Your thought process is, I need to destroy this target and get out of the way. The thing is, you can get too involved in, I need to destroy this target and forget that I need to get out of the way. And that's kind of what P4 round 2 sort of taught me, is that I can destroy this target, but I actually bugger off.
Yeah. And it's just as important to learn how to turn it off and run as it is to learn how to allow yourself permission to defend yourself. That's the most important thing, is you need to allow yourself permission to actually defend yourself against physical attack. And for a lot of people, a lot of good people, that's an uncomfortable thing to come to terms with.
Of course, it really is. And I'll speak on that. From my experience, I've been very, very fortunate for basically all my life to not have ever been in a situation where I've had to defend myself.
And long may that continue.
I hope so. But from what I've learned from experience, and I won't go into detail about where and why and how, but I have been told in some jobs that I've been in that I have not hired you to defend yourself. I have not hired you to get involved in these situations. That's not part of the job description. I want you to feel as safe as the customers that I'm there to make feel safe and happy as well. But in those moments, I've learned that the people that cannot defend themselves, that this whole scenario is completely separate of them, and there is absolutely no right for them to get involved or feel uncomfortable about a situation that transpires where it is unfortunately violence. You defend those people and you make sure that they're safe, or they're somewhere where they can't be hurt, or you go along and you make sure that they're okay. So that has always been my approach. There are other ways of preventing, and I've learned that as well. And it makes me happy to know that I am a pacifist and can confidently get involved in those situations with the power of words. But not only that, this temporary facade you need to put up to go, just like, I am not scared of you, and neither should anyone else be, because this isn't needed. That's what I personally have learned to do.
It's got a soft version of like escalate, de-escalate sort of thing. You kind of softly kind of like impose like a certain power on the environment, and then they read it and then kind of bring it back.
Well, I mean, I'm sad to say I saw it a lot on the police. I worked as well as being in digital forensics. I also volunteered as a special constable.
Yes.
Which meant in my spare time I would go out and be a police officer on the streets. And I worked in response in Surrey's Northern Division, which is like sort of Staines kind of areas where we worked out of, and the surrounding areas around there. And even just on response, working with lots of different officers, you get to know the officers that always end up in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
And the officers who never seem to end up in a fight. Working with different officers, you see their different approaches to conflict situations. And some of them, I think, quite unknowingly rile the situation up.
Yeah.
And where others will de-escalate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are some that probably knowingly rile the situation up and get an arrest out of it as well. You know, the police are made up of human beings. There's all manner of human life who work for the police, good and unfortunately not so good. Personally, I rarely got into fights as a police officer. There were some that were just thrown upon me.
Yeah.
You know, when you get a call come through that there's a brawl happening somewhere and the officers are being attacked, and you arrive in your car and there's already chairs being thrown around. Well, you can't just go and go, hey, everybody's calm. Hey, why don't we all just take a second? It doesn't work, unfortunately. So there's some situations where you have no choice. But in other situations, it's usually the police show up to the worst type of stuff, right? You know, like you never get called on a response call to the opening of a bakery, right? It's always there's a domestic going on, or you know, this is happening, that is, and it's always a bad thing.
Yeah.
And everyone's tense, and it has potential when you get to a scene to go either way. And you just gotta try. I was always trying to calm and de-escalate, and most of the time it worked. There are some people just can't be taught, and it's always going to end up in a fight. But for the most part, like, anytime I arrested someone, it was usually like I put the cuffs on them quite peacefully. I can think of maybe a handful of occasions where I've struggled to put cuffs on someone because they were resisting. I would have loved to have gotten involved in like the officer training side of things. But you know, Krav Maga isn't exactly Home Office approved.
No.
It doesn't always look very good from like an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Although there is like a law enforcement side of Krav Maga as well. Which is all about like detention and arresting and whatnot. But I worry sometimes that young cadets and new police officers come out of the conflict management training thinking that they're Superman. Yeah. And they're not. You know, you've had a very small bit of hand-to-hand training, and it's not enough. I think it should be incumbent upon all police officers to train extracurricular outside of their job in some form of other combative system, which is what I did. I think not necessarily Krav Maga, but just anything, just be good in a fight, because the fight as a police officer is going to find you, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's fascinating that it's almost come full circle, and that idea that some people get just so confident with their abilities, and it's brilliant that such training brings them out of their shell and makes them more comfortable with who they are. But sometimes their confidence can go too far. Yeah. And they think, I literally know how to win any fight, any conflicting fight. And say, for example, you're doing a drill where they're unarmed and they're going at you with your fists. Say they've got, for example, they use the environment around you. They pick up a big metal pole, or like, gosh forbid, they pick up something sharp, you know. That's when they're just like, oh, I wasn't trained for that. And then they go into panic mode. And you're just like, you're not unbeatable. No one is unbeatable. We're all human. And in those moments, your emotions could get the better of you, and it makes you panic. And you see it in most films, where you get, maybe it's the antagonist, maybe it's the protagonist that's just going through their arc of I'm the best, I've got powers, and then someone comes along and puts them in their place, and then they go through this whole emotional crisis. which is represented stereotypically through a physical degradation of the way that they look. That it's like, oh, woe is me, I can't defeat this person.
Yeah.
Then the plot comes along and just gives them a device to win.
Yeah.
But
Need that MacGuffin,
sometimes,
right?
that would wishful thinking. It's beautiful if we could ever get such moments like that, but we don't. It's reality, and that can be quite degrading for those people that feel like they're so confident and powerful in themselves, and then they're inevitably faced with a situation that they cannot get over with the way that they've been approaching such situations thus far, and it can be quite taxing to them. And it's just a matter of whether or not they decide to take a step back and approach it in a different way, or continue to do the same thing to their own detriment, you know?
And you do see it as with students that come in, especially students who maybe have had a little bit of training in other disciplines, you know. And to be fair, it's usually the ones that are actually quite good.
Yeah.
But overconfidence is just as
It's
dangerous,
so dangerous,
as having no confidence
Yeah.
whatsoever. You know, if fact more so, because you can end up putting yourself deliberately in harm's way when you should just walk away. And that all comes down to ego.
Yeah.
If you can check your ego at the door, there would be no fights. If everyone just was able to control their ego and be adults about it.
Yeah.
That really is the thing. You just see it in people's eyes, don't you? You just see their flair and that smile. It's a weird thing to say, the smile in someone's eye. And it just glistens with just this, it's just this egotistical confidence of like, I'm going to beat you up, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical confrontation. It could very much be a verbal confrontation, or whatever you do in your job or your life. This person just comes at you and they're just like, I'm going to be better than you. And you see it in their eyes and you're just like, slow down there, bucko. It might not go the way that you want things to. It very well could do. It very well could go the way that you want to. It's feeding ego is such a dangerous thing because that puts you on such a high horse. And this is why I like the saying, the mighty shall fall. The mighty shall fall, in that if your ego is so fueled and you're just, everything goes to your head, there will be something one day, and it will be the day that you cannot predict, that you are not only defeated physically, but mentally and in your soul as well. The higher you are, the further you fall and the more it hurts. Yeah. So
the old saying goes, no matter how good you are, there's always someone out there better than you.
Always.
This is borne out in blood sports like boxing and MMA and stuff like that. Isn't that the very nature of these kind of things? Like, see who the best is, but the best, they never stay the best for long, right? They get to the top, but in those kind of arenas, you only have so many fights in you. You only have so many training camps you can go to before the big event. You can only do that so many times before the next young blood comes up and he's better than you, and that's just the nature of the beast, right?
I've always enjoyed that in teaching, I'd say. It's good to be able to pass on skills to the next generation. Like you got so many young eyes there as well, or maybe older eyes, where you never know what they're going to do next. They could be the next biggest thing. Who knows? They could be inspired by what you do and be a better version of you in the future. But they do that because they're inspired by what you teach them, and they're inspired by what they want to do. There's no harm. There's absolutely no bad thing in someone learning these skills and becoming a good person. That's the whole point of life.
I think a good teacher wants their students to do better than they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love, it takes a very long, I've been doing this 20 years, it takes a very long time, but I would love for my students to surpass me. I would love to see them go beyond where I am doing what I do and think, look what we did.
I completely agree with you.
Look at the course that you're on, isn't that great? Look what your trajectory is. We have the grading system in Krav Maga, practitioner level, and then graduate level, and expert level, and then there's the higher echelons like master. And to have a student work towards that expert level, like I'm an expert 2 now, but to have students coming up, we've got people approaching the graduate level, within my classes, and it's just lovely for me to see my students just chip away at it, and no egos, like we said, but just not badge chasing, not grading chasing, but just working hard and achieving. It's it is one of the rewarding things. You ask what I get out of teaching. It's like when we do gradings and stuff like that, and I see my students, keep stepping up and bringing it. That's really rewarding for me.
Hello, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are, remember to like, share, and subscribe.
The whole core of teaching as well, and very much giving back to the world, the skills that the things that you like and hobbies that you like so much, to be able to even for one moment give that back to make someone feel more fulfilled and realize who they are and go on to do nothing but good things. That is one of the most rewarding things one can feel anyway.
Well, to your point, going back to the Invictus class, the reason it stopped was that most of the students either went on to be higher level students like Elliott or became instructors. So Invictus ended because everyone who was coming along kind of just outgrew it.
Wow.
And became their own thing.
Wow, that's so cool though.
We're waiting for the next raft of psychopaths to come through the wings so we can start another Invictus class and put it back on and go and teach them how it's all done, Elliott. Trying to find the next sort of P3, P4, P5 level students. Like, come do Invictus. What's that? So ask Elliott, he'll tell you all about it.
Oh man, the amount of times I've got to try to explain Invictus is hilarious. So we're in full armour. Full armour.
Yeah.
We've got weapons. Weapons are available to use. There's multiple attackers, and we just go all out. It's like, huh?
Full PPE. We're not about getting injured. Gum shields, groin guards, and boxing gloves are a minimum, or MMA gloves.
I tell you what, the biggest ego check I got Invictus was hilarious, because I'll never forget it. Is we fit in the same class in Invictus. I think Hay from teaching lesson, and we're sparring, and I think I was kind of getting pretty confident because I was kind of sparring with the large guys and all that stuff. And I remember I swapped over to Haytham, and I just remember Haytham just throwing like the sneakiest front kick and folding me completely.
Haytham's a devil to fight, an absolute devil.
Yeah. And I remember just stepping out of this class, and I couldn't continue the class for the rest of the session. I was like, I'm good now. The ego check is definitely there.
Lesson learned.
There you go.
It was a lesson learned that day.
Yeah. But I think at the same time, I appreciate it as much.
It's good.
It's good to learn these things.
I'd say so. Sometimes it's very good to be humbled in whatever you do, to realize that you're not the best at what you do. Even if you are, you're not going to be the best forever. I think that's a wonderfully, almost weirdly beautiful thing, that look at all this scope you have to improve, to learn, evolve, adapt, and to develop new skills. That's not a bad thing that you're not at the top of the mountain, because in my eyes, there should be a false peak. You should keep climbing, because when you're there, what else do you do?
Yeah, I've kind of come to that mindset to us. Yeah, sort of like not really having a top in skill set. Is like, I'll just learn something new and see what happens. Yeah. So,
You guys familiar with the song "Sunscreen" by Baz Luhrmann?
I'm not. I'm afraid no.
So it was a I believe it started as an article that was written by someone, and someone bought the rights to the article and put it to a beat. But it's basically it sounds like an older gentleman, and he's just reading the article, but over the song.
Wow.
And it's just reminiscing on life and whatnot. But one of the lines in it is talking about don't be too proud of what you achieve in life, and don't berate others either. And ultimately, the race is long, and it's only with yourself. So forget everyone else. Just focus on you, on what you do.
That's just it. That's just the core of it, isn't it? As long as you're looking after yourself and you're happy with your own company as well, then everything else falls into place.
I don't need to be the best. I quite enjoy being very good at what I do, but I don't need the accolades of
of course
this guy is the best Krav Maga guy in the world, or whatever. It's just I had a new student just last week. She's only been with us a couple of weeks, who just stopped me after class before she was leaving and said, I've done Krav Maga before with other instructors, and I really enjoy the way you teach.
Oh wow.
And that meant a lot.
Just
having that
It's the little. It's always the little things.
Little wins.
Always the little things in my
It's like,
eyes.
oh,
It's beautiful.
that's really nice of you to say. Thank you very much. Actually, I want to ask you guys. We were talking about stress earlier on.
Yes.
And we're talking about dealing with stress and all the rest of it. And I meant to throw it in conversation, but then we kind of, we meandered. But have you guys seen Invincible with not the movie, the documentary?
Sorry, yes,
I'm familiar. Yeah, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
So he's got like season 1, and then season 2 has just like 3 episodes where he did a little bit more of it. But episode 1 of season 1, like each episode is titled a different thing, and the first episode is about stress because he's about my age, which is really depressing because he's such an attractive and
Oh, stop it!
and successful guy.
We're not comparing.
And
Come on.
and look at his life, look at his body, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life? But it's like he's literally got the body of a demigod. And he's the same age as me. I'm like, okay, right, fine. But he's on a bit of a journey at the minute because he's realizing that. He's a man in his 40s now. He's got his kids. He's focusing on longevity.
Yes.
Like he's been training hard to be Thor, which means he looks amazing, but he's not actually that strong.
No, he's not.
He's not that flexible or the dynamic movements and things like that. It was all about the looks for the movie, which is what he was training specifically for. But that in itself, it can be detrimental to your overall health.
Oh, I completely agree.
You're seeing this now with like Dave Bautista. Like he has gone from Drax the Destroyer to, I don't know if you've seen The Wrecking Crew, his most recent movie.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
He's a good looking guy. He's ripped and everything, but he's shrunk down quite significantly because he's now a man of advancing years. I wouldn't say he's old, but he's not a guy in his 20s anymore, and he's also focusing on longevity. So in this documentary, I think it's on Apple TV. I think maybe Disney Plus. You can watch this series where Chris is sort of investigating longevity and things you can do to improve our overall health and well-being. Like a great part of it, one of the episodes is just about acceptance. It's like you're gonna get old. That's just how it goes. But all the things you can do along the way to push that back a bit, to like stave off cancers, to stave off. He's got 2 DNA markers, I think, for like Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So he's concerned that later on in life he's going to start, having a degenerative problem. So he's doing everything he can to stop that happening. But the first episode, to your point, was about stress. And it's all about the physiological response to stress. I mean, stress is a psychological thing, but it has a real effect on your body.
Oh gosh.
And it talks about like, they put him under duress. They put him in a bunch of different stressful situations with all of the gadgets and gizmos on him to monitor like every vital that he has. And then they give him some things to cope with stress, like certain breathing exercises and mental things. If you haven't seen it, and if your listeners haven't watched it and you have Disney Plus, I wholeheartedly recommend it because not only is it like really, really entertaining, he's a really good host, and guinea pig to be fair. But then they also do these little side things where they shoot off, and he narrates with illustrations the science behind what it is that he's doing. It's fantastic. I just thought I'd throw that in there because
it's the one where I think he joins. Korean Army?
He does go and train with the Korean Army. I forget which one that one was, but he does like cold water therapy and stuff like that. He's a fit guy, don't get me wrong, but those guys are on another level.
I think they would have put humour, I think, for that episode. I think how to deal with stress with humour.
With laughter.
So,
No, there's some great episodes on there. The most recent series, like I say, there's only 3 episodes, but one of them he spoke to someone about like cognitive action, and they were saying like in your 40s is a great time to learn to play a new instrument because it gets the synapses firing.
Oh, interesting.
So he already like dabbled in guitar and keyboards and stuff like that, but he landed on drums because he'd never played drums before, and they said it's a really, really good one because every limb acts independently. of the other. And
Yeah,
it's like learning it builds so many pathways in your brain, learning this new skill. And they put pressure on him, they put stress on him because they gave him like a self-imposed timeline. He met up with Ed Sheeran, and he was slated to play drums for Ed Sheeran for one of his songs in an arena concert in front of like millions of people.
Oh hell!
Can you imagine? And like, you know, he's Chris Hemsworth, so he's not just sat at home learning drums. Like, he has a life he has to go and do press conferences, he has to go and do this and that, media engagements and whatnot, and all the while he's learning how to play these drums. It was a good episode, really, really fun, really enjoyable. So that's my little TV recommendation for you guys if you've not seen it.
That's very cool. I mean, in two terms, I can relate under like, well, not to that extent, but like stress. You either perform or you don't, and you can get consumed by stress. And one example, when I went through a very, very stressful time in my life where my mental health was quite low, and therefore I wasn't eating well, because obviously it makes you feel sick because you don't feel good in yourself, and the way that stress literally eats away at your body. And I looked at myself in the mirror and there was nothing left, and my immune system was completely like nothing at all. But on the contrast, you get moments where you're put under stress, and because you're in a good place, you tend to perform better. Like in the best, I'd say, find the best of the bad. Now, find the one good thing about the roller coaster ride that you're on, rather than screaming through the entire roller coaster ride, get me off. Just go, get me off, and there's a camera coming. You're like, you know, just there you go. It's fine. There's going to be one thing about it. It could be as trivial as if you're doing a shift at work and it's ridiculously busy and you're by yourself and you don't know what to do. You just halfway through, you just laugh to yourself because things could be worse, and then it starts getting worse, and then you just laugh and go, guess I'm wrong. It just got worse. But when you laugh about it in the stress, it becomes easier to carry with you, and it gets lesser and lesser and lesser, and then you realize under that it's just like it's in your head. You can do it. Don't get me wrong, there are things where you put up against it's like, move that boulder in 1 hour or else. That's when you kind of like, that's when you're put in faced with impossible odds. Don't get me wrong, you do get those situations, but you know, it's fascinating how people can equip their own stress to literally overcome their stress. It's a very real thing. For
sure.
Kind of had a few things in regards to stress. So when I was a mechanic, apprentice mechanic, going through, then I kind of in the times of going through shifts, I kind of had issues in regards to like heart rate or stuff. So I feel like I had issues with like hypertension, sort of like high heart rate or sort of stuff. But I found stress-wise kind of deal with it. One is like, don't overburn yourself. Like, know your limit to a degree. Breathe is 100% one. And like the amount of times I've kind of got myself out of panic attacks with just breathing.
Do you box breathe, by the way?
What's that?
Do you box breathe?
No, I don't.
Do you not?
I don't think I box breathe. No, I've just been taking deep breaths and deep sort of regrounding. Maybe is best way to describe it. Where like I would take a breath in, and it's more kind of regrounding as to where I'm at, what smells that I got, what's the environment I'm currently in, sort of thing. I mean, it tends to work better when I'm in a calmer environment, but you kind of just reground as to where you are. The other one is sort of compartmentalizing what problems I'm dealing with first. So if one problem is a priority, then I prioritize that, fix that first, and then deal with the others. That's kind of how I've been juggling things as of late. Sort of like, this is the task coming up. What can I do to prepare for this task? Okay, cool. I've got this sorted. Now I can prepare for this next task.
So the past couple of months for me have been pretty emotional and stressful time in my life. There's been a lot going on, and I had an input last year, the year before at work on box breathing, and I kind of just it's a hippie rubbish. What a lot of rubbish. Why am I here wasting my time when I could be getting on with my job? But actually, do you know, I've been trying it lately. So you you think of a box.
Yeah.
You think of a box, and what it is, you breathe in for, let's say, the count of 4.
Yeah.
So you do a. That's the count of 4,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you hold.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Breathe out.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Hold.
Yeah.
In.
Yeah.
3, 4. Hold.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Out.
Oh, damn.
3, 4. And it brings everything down.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
reduces your heart rate,
Mm.
it reduces your blood pressure, and it can just really ground you. Like I've had some really stressful and really emotional stuff in the past couple of months, and just the breathing, just relying on the box breath. I was in a funeral in January, and you know how emotionally charged funerals can be, and like you feel like everything building up inside of you. And I started box breathing, and you know what? It just brought me back down a bit and allowed me not to have that, like, you know, ugly faced crying episode that happens when you're at funerals. You know, you just brings you back down and grounds you a little bit more. So my tip for you and for your listeners and viewers try a little bit of box breathing. It doesn't have to be the count of 4. It could be the count of like 3 or 5 or whatever it is. If you can take a deep breath in and it's like 5 count or 6 count or whatever, but whatever it is you go in, you hold it for the same, you let it out for the same, and then you hold it for the same. It really helps. Yeah, I was very skeptical. I was very dismissive. I was your typical bloke sat there going, what is this rubbish? But actually, there's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah.
Completely agree. And box breathing is something that I've been very, very familiar with in my time as well. Admittedly, a bit surprised you didn't know about it.
Consider yourself updated.
But there you go. And weirdly, actually, sometimes when I feel emotional, instead of breathing it away, when I feel intense emotion, that's when the breathing comes into it. But if it is just the slightest thing, or I just feel a bit upset, sometimes I just let myself be upset. And I can't remember, a couple of weeks ago, there was an instance where it was something trivial, something just as trivial as missing someone. And I just let myself be emotional about it. I took myself out of the room. I announced it to everyone. I'm just like, not feeling 100%. So I'm just going to excuse myself for 10 minutes and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of a tear to myself and I came back and I felt literally the next day, I felt so much better. Yeah. I just felt there was a complete weight off of my chest.
There's a lot to be said for it. So my father passed away at Christmas, just gone.
So sorry.
And thank you. And you go through the truly awful thing of like letting everybody know. It's just the worst, you know, because like, sure, your immediate family know, but like all your friends have got to know. And like, what do you say? I was like, hi guys, sorry, like, I'm just letting you know this has happened.
Yeah.
One of the guys from Krav Tom, I sent a message and he sent me a voicemail. Rather than call me, he just sent me a voicemail, and you know, he gave me some amazing advice, and I've been living it because his dad passed away like last year or the year before. And he said, you know what, just the grief is going to come regardless. He said, if I could give you any advice, just lean into it.
Yes.
And I took that to heart. And I have been, you know, it's like, it's going to sneak up on you if you don't.
Yeah.
So just when you can, like when you have a private moment by yourself, or if you're feeling yourself getting like upset about something, just take yourself off somewhere and just lean into it and work through it. Your body needs to kind of go through that process. So just allow yourself to do that. Have a big old cry if you need to.
It really helps.
And then once it's done, you just feel
it's done.
You feel a bit better until like the next time. You know, and that's just grief.
It's wonderful wisdom to be advised to just lean into grief, let it happen. When I went through some troubling times, the words that deeply resonated with me at the time, when I was obviously so tearful, and in that moment I was like, does this pain go? Does it end? And the person that looked at me, that the time I say looked at me, was talking to me through the phone. He said, I'm not going to lie, mate. No, it doesn't. It gets worse. What you feel now is nothing compared to what you'll feel next week. And then the week after, he said, it's going to feel worse, but there's still light at the end of the tunnel. And you don't let this pain weigh you down. You go with it. you let it teach you lessons. You let it show you your understanding of why it's necessary to vent such emotions. He's like, and you will get better. There is a life after this. But he said, for now, you're gonna hurt, and that's okay. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
And I just, ever since then, those words have deeply resonated with me, and basically everyone that I've ever spoken to, just like, for goodness sake, don't bottle it in.
No, it's the
Don't
worst thing you can do.
ever bottle emotions in.
Yeah.
You have to let it out.
You can't just like, it's one of these things, you can't just throw yourself into work and ignore everything and be like, I'm just going to crack on with it. I'm just going to get on with it. Because it finds a way.
Yeah.
It'll wriggle through and it'll find a crack in the surface and then it'll pop out. You just gotta lean into it. And like, you only feel this way because you love the person, right? I like my Marvel movies, and I do like Vision for a little bit of wisdom every now and then. He's got some cracking lines, and one of the things he said is, "What is grief if not love persevering?"
Oh my goodness, that's
and
so
it's
cool.
so true. And I've that one's been bouncing around my head. Since my dad died, it's like, all right. I feel this way, but I wouldn't change it. For the world, So.
That's a very, very lovely quote, and I completely agree that there's why do we fight each day? It's for the ones that we love, and it's for the vision that we dearly love for our own future as well. We all, in my belief, have be it a divine purpose or to each their own, a purpose to be here. And that's not necessarily, like you said earlier in this special, John, it's not necessarily being the big golden statue in the middle of Trafalgar Square going like, I'm Theseus, that
as
sort
lovely
of
as that would be.
It's you don't have to be the biggest cog in the system.
No.
You just have to be the cog in your own system, and you just have to matter to yourself. And if you matter to other people in your life as well, you're doing something right. Everyone is here for that reason. And when people go through that moment in their life where they don't know what that is, that's fine. Cut yourself some slack. Life is going to be long. You've got a long time here to figure it out. You don't have to figure it all out in one night. You could figure it out in a couple of years, maybe longer. Who knows? Your calling comes to you when you least expect it,
That's very true.
And that only happens with patience, perseverance, and above all, love. I would say as well. Love for the things that you do and for the ones that you hold dearest.
Bit deep and philosophical for the last part of the podcast.
It tends to go that way on Me Time, doesn't it? Sometimes in the early specials, Elliott and I just ended this episode and we looked at one another like, that happened. Well, John, thank you.
It's
so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. It's been such a privilege. Is there anything you'd like to say about your time on this episode? Anything else that to someone that would also be joining the show at some point in the future?
Just go for it. I would say do it. Fantastic. Just embrace the power of yes and get yourself on a podcast and then enjoy it.
John, that's very kind.
It's not every day someone gets to get on a podcast, so it's really lovely. If shameless plug time, if any of your listeners worldwide, if you're interested in doing Krav Maga, firstly look for the IKMF. That's the International Krav Maga Federation. That's one of the oldest Krav Maga federations in the world. So it's from the source. Obviously, we're in Fleet, Hampshire in the UK. So we are Carpe Diem Krav Maga. But if you're not from around this area, just get on the internet and look for it. And listen, just do something.
Excellent.
Try even if it's not Krav, just get out there, do something, meet some friends, learn some self-defense techniques, and feel more confident, healthier, and happier with yourself.
Seems to be the theme of today's episode. And
Absolutely.
It's been absolutely lovely. It's been a privilege to have you join us today.
My pleasure.
John.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So, from myself, from John, from Elliott as well, we would like to thank you all for tuning in, whether this is on YouTube or Spotify. Me Time, the series thus far is ongoing on YouTube and Spotify still. So we appreciate any share, any follow, any subscription, any like that we could possibly get. You know where our socials are. And at the end of the day, you just always got to remember there's always time for me time. Look after yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Me Time. And if you haven't already,
Subscribe, like, and share if you like the content.
woo!